Hello, scholars, and welcome back. It's already week 5 of POL450, Research Methods for Political Science. I believe this is an exciting week in this class because for the first 4 weeks of this class, we've been building the foundation. We worked on a topic, we refined our topic into a research question, we continue to refine our research question, we operationalized our research question, and now that I believe we all have a solid research question, we're now at a point to build upon it. So we have the firm foundation. And that's really the hard work of a research project, is coming up with that research question, creating the foundation, and now we can build the pieces of it as we move forward. And that's what we're going to do here in week 5, 6, 7, and then ultimately put it all together, build our perspective for week 8 for our critical assignment. But here in week 5, this week we're talking about samplings and surveys. So our sample, who we're going to ask, and then our survey, what we're going to ask them. All based upon building off of that question that we've established. So all this we're going to find in week 8 or in our textbook in chapter 8. And also on our agenda this week, we're going to have a couple PowerPoint lectures that are followed up with some videos. And then we have 3 assignments: written assignment 5, application exercise 5, and week 5 journal. And we'll go into each of these individually. So let's look at our PowerPoint lecture. This week in our PowerPoint lecture, we have sampling and surveys. So a sampling and survey PowerPoint, and then 2 videos that will help explain that. So remember, we've created a question. Now we need to answer that question. And oftentimes we're going to answer that question in the forms of an interview or a survey. We're going to ask people questions and we're going to get information back. And that's an art. We need to be able to ask them the right questions, the appropriate questions, and then questions that we can measure and determine. And we're going to find that in these 3, in this lessons here. And that builds into our first assignment, our week 5 written assignment, writing survey questions. So right off the bat, Sunday, 11:59 as always, 25 points available. So what I want you to do this week is write 5 to 8 survey questions related to your research study. At least 3 of these questions should be open-ended, and the remaining questions can utilize nominal or ordinal level data. Be sure to specify who your participants are and whether you will be conducting survey research or using interviews to gather your data. So we need 5 to 8 questions. A few of these have them open-ended, the remaining nominal or ordinal data. Now remember, oftentimes a researcher is going to want to know a little bit about the individuals that they're asking their questions to. We need to get some sort of demographics questions, just something as simple as, your age, your gender, your race, your educational level, your household income, whatever would fit into your research study. We call this descriptive statistics, describing who you are researching. So oftentimes we want to include those questions. Even though gender or race might not be a part of your research study, we're going to want to know who is answering our questions. And remember though, we do not want to ask people to include their names because a lot of that is the IRB. Remember, we want it to be anonymous most of the time to ensure the individuals not only that the information doesn't have any adverse effect with them. So some open-ended questions, some descriptive questions, put those in the form of a questions, in a form of a survey, very similar to the types of surveys that many of us take, like SurveyMonkey or one of those, Qualtrics survey. Oftentimes these online surveys are the popular form. You read the question, you either provide the answer, you have fill in the blank answers, something of that sort. But I need you to create the questions in order to answer your research question. So you can see how all these pieces are coming together. Now this assignment works directly with our application exercise, because in our written assignment we created a survey, but now who are we going to give the survey to? And we call that our sample. So there's a couple words we need to remember. The first is population. Population is the entire group we're trying to measure. Sample is the smaller group within the population that we're actually going to give the surveys to. So let me use the example of our question we gave earlier about the water usage of residents of Riverside County. So our population would be everyone in Riverside County. But realistically, we can't ask everybody in Riverside County. It would take too much time and effort. So what we do is we take a small sample of the people in Riverside County, we ask them, and then the results of our study we can then relate to the entire population of Riverside County. The key though is to understand that if we are going to say our study is how does water affect the residents of Riverside County, our sample has to be reflective of our population. So that means my study would not be valid if I just went to Temecula and asked a handful of people to answer a survey. Because the people in Temecula, although they are in Riverside County, are not representative of the entire county. So to do a legitimate study, I would need to go out to the desert. And I would need to ask some people in small towns and large towns. I would need to go to Mecca and Thermal and Indio and Indian Wells and Palm Springs. I would need to go up onto the mountain and ask some people in Idlewild and Gardner Valley. I would need to come down the hill and ask some people in the larger urban areas, in Riverside and Menifee and Murrieta, and then maybe some of my smaller towns in Calamasa or what have you. But what I'm getting at is that I would need my sample to be reflective of my population. So each of you have a question that's a larger population. So what would be the smaller sample? Who are going to be the people that are going to answer your surveys? If you had a survey to go hand out and you needed, who are you going to ask? How many people are you going to ask? Where are you going to find these people? And that's the question. That's what we're going to write about in application exercise 5. So once again, due Sunday at 11:59, 30 points possible. Write a brief essay, no more than 400 words, that describes how you plan to find participants for your research study. What do you want to survey or interview and why? Are you interested in finding out what the experts in the field think? Or are you more interested in discovering the thoughts and opinions of the general population? The purpose of this exercise is to help you write the sample information in the methodology chapter of your proposal. So remember, our prospectus, 3 chapters, the methodology chapters, the sample size is going to be a portion of it. And in your written exercise, you're figuring out the questions. In your application exercise, you're determining who you're going to ask those questions to. 30 points possible, 20 for if you get all the components, and 10 for that you exhibit college level writing, APA, correct grammar, all the content of it. And finally this week we have our journal exercise number 5. So please respond to each of the prompts given below. Your response to each of these prompts should be that demonstrate the writing skills that are appropriate for a 4th-year college student. What was the 2 questions I asked you to answer? What was most confusing to me in this week's lecture, video, or reading? If nothing was confusing, what was the most interesting or surprising? And what insights have I gained as a result of this week's activities? I know these questions sound fairly generic, but remember, we're putting together the core portion of what we need to do this week. So I need all of you to think to yourself, I have a research question. How am I going to answer that question? What are going to be my questions, and how am I going to get that out there? Now, obviously, we are not going to ask these questions in this class. That would be what we would do if we kept moving forward and did a full research project. But use realistic, like how could I possibly, using the technology, the ways, the means, the social network that I have, the individuals I know, how could I possibly actually make this research study move forward? Would it be realistic? Could I actually make this study occur? Those are the keys to the questions I want you to answer in this journal assignment. So use a little bit of insight. Once again, due date, Sunday, 11:59, 25 points, 15 if you all the instructor's prompts, 10 for writing college level. And understand again, just to go back, remember journals are as if it was the dialogue between you and I. So if you were going to explain this to me, if we were inside a classroom, I asked you a question, these 2 questions, how would you describe that to me? We just need to do that in a written format. So those are our 3 deliverables. Week 5, the pieces are coming together. So as I describe at the end of each week, if you have any sorts of concerns, questions, comments, you're not clear, the pieces aren't coming together, you need to reach out. Give me an email. I'll get back to you. We'll answer these questions. We can move forward. I don't want anybody to be struggling on these issues. I use that philosophy. If I'm not hearing from you, the assumption is everything's going well. So far, fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever it is, this class has been doing exceptional. We're moving forward. The pieces are coming together. I want that to continue. But once again, any issues at all, you let me know. Have a blessed week 5. I'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers. Stay safe out there. Crazy world we're living in. A lot of uncertain times. A lot of unprecedented times. Stay healthy. Make wise decisions. Take care of yourselves. Be diligent in your work. Stay on top of your work. We're at week 5. The end is near. Keep up the good work. I can't wait to talk again next week. Bye for now.